When talking to Jehovah's Witnesses, the topic of the pre-existence of Jesus always occurs. And with the topic of pre-existence of Jesus, there is a topic of his deity, of him being the Almighty God, of him being Yahweh himself. They don't believe Jesus existed eternally. They don't believe there wasn't any moment in history when Jesus wasn't existence. So they basically believe that Jesus didn't exist for all eternity in the past. They in fact believe that Jesus is Michael the Archangel and that he is the brother of Satan. They believe Jesus is the first creation and therefore deny him being the Almighty God. In this video I will show you one of the clearest connections and one of my favorite ones between the Old Testament and the New Testament to show them the truth. You can use those scriptures to show them that Jesus has existed for all eternity and that Jesus is Jehovah himself, or Yahweh, as we prefer. Isaiah 6:1. In the year of King Uzziah's death, I saw the Lord sitting on the throne, high and lifted up, with the train of his robe filling the temple. What's important to notice here is that Isaiah saw the Lord sitting on the throne. He saw the glory of Yahweh. He saw Yahweh himself sitting on the throne. Now let's compare it to the other passage from the New Testament. John chapter 12, verses 36 through 41. These things Jesus spoke, and he went away and hid himself from them. But though he had done so many signs before them, they still were not believing him, so that the word of Isaiah the prophet might be fulfilled which he spoke. Lord, who has believed our report, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For this reason they could not believe, for Isaiah said again, He has blinded their eyes, and he hardened their heart, lest they see with their eyes, and understand with their heart, and return, and I heal them. These things Isaiah said because he saw his glory, and he spoke about him. According to the Apostle John, Isaiah saw Jesus' glory. As we see in the verse 41, contextually, it speaks about Christ. So Isaiah saw Jesus' glory on the throne, according to the Apostle John. And again, his from the 41 verse contextually refers to Christ, not to the Father. John intentionally takes and quotes the verse from the Old Testament that talks about Yahweh and applies it to Jesus Christ himself to show that Jesus Christ is Yahweh. As Dr. James White often points out, if we ask Isaiah whom he saw sitting on the throne, he would say that he saw Yahweh sitting on the throne. And if we asked John the same question, he would have answered that Jesus was on the throne. Unless we accept the doctrine of Trinity, these two passages don't come together. They don't merge. They actually contradict each other because the one says that it's Yahweh and the other says it's Jesus Christ. If Jesus is not Yahweh, if Jesus is a different being from Yahweh, these two verses would contradict each other. If we deny Jesus is Yahweh, we deny the inerrancy of scriptures and reliability of John the Apostle or of Isaiah the prophet. It's very common practice among the New Testament prophets to quote the Old Testament passages and to apply them to Jesus Christ in order to show his divinity, in order to show that the Son of God, that Jesus Christ is Yahweh. Heretical groups conveniently seem to overlook that fact. Just think how big of a blasphemy would it be if a mere creature would be identified as the Most High God, would be identified as Yahweh. Could I be identified as Yahweh? Of course not. It would be a blasphemy. So if Jesus Christ was identified as Yahweh numerous times, it would be a blasphemy if he weren't the Most High God. Exodus chapter 20 verses 2 through 3. I am Yahweh your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. So in conclusion, when talking to Jehovah's Witnesses, it's crucial to show them from the Bible that Jesus Christ is identified as Yahweh, as Jehovah. You can do that, and in my opinion the best way to do that is to show them parallels between the Old Testament and the New Testament, to show them how often is Jesus referred to and how often do the titles of Yahweh apply to Jesus in the New Testament. Jesus is identified with many titles that only Jehovah has in the Old Testament. If we do that with love and respect and gentleness, and if the Lord wills, they will believe. They will believe that Jesus is God. Not only God, but the Almighty God, Jehovah himself. So it's important to equip ourselves with the basic knowledge and the basic verses we can pull out of the pocket to address certain groups of people. If you live in an area where JWs evangelize, I would recommend you to know at least one connection from the Old to New Testament, to be equipped to tell them the truth, to tell them that Jesus is God. So it will help you with confidence and defending the faith as we are commanded to in 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 15. Tell me in the comments which verses you really like to use when talking to Jehovah's Witnesses. Praise Jesus, baby.